the algorithms do not reflect reality, not even close. There are millions, many, many millions of people out there who can still tell the difference between good and evil, and who understand that when you look at a pro-Israel march and a pro-Palestine march, one is holding flags and waving flags and one is burning flags. They still have brains in their heads and they still know how to use critical thinking, and they can still differentiate between good and evil. Again, there are many people out there who can't, but there are millions who can.
Scarlett Grace with Rebel News. I am here in Ottawa for an event being presented by Friends of JNF Canada. Now, JNF Canada, Jewish National Fund, lost its charitable status in Canada very recently, even after everything they have done for the environment, which you would think the government of Canada would love. For example, tree planting is one of the Jewish National Fund's most iconic and long-standing activities. Since its founding in 1901, the organization has planted over 240 to 260 million trees across Israel, covering more than 250,000 acres, creating forests, green belts around cities, and recreation areas, while combating desertification and soil erosion. Beyond that, JNF has undertaken a wide range of projects such as water management, land development and infrastructure, community and education. They created over 1,000 parks, accessible recreation sites, education centers, youth programs, and facilities for special needs populations, biodiversity efforts, and climate resilience initiatives. But the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, revoked the charitable status of the Jewish National Fund of Canada in August 2024. The decision followed a multi-year audit, citing concerns including the organization's funding of infrastructure projects linked to the Israeli military, support for activities in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and its accounting and operational practices, such as maintaining operations in Israel. As a result, JNF Canada can no longer issue official tax receipts for donations. The organization has challenged the revocation through legal proceedings, but appeals to the Federal Court and Federal Court of Appeal have been dismissed, upholding the CRA's decision. JNF Canada continues to operate while pursuing further options to restore its status. So in September 2025, supporters announced the creation or renaming of a new registered Canadian charity called Friends of JNF Canada. This organization, with its own charity number, was established to carry forward similar environmental, educational, and community projects in Israel, allowing donors to receive tax receipts, while JNF Canada continues its legal efforts to restore its original status. So this event tonight by Friends of JNF is called Sweet Solidarity, a gathering of friends and allies of Israel. The featured speaker is Hillel Fuld. Hillel Fuld is an American-Israeli technology business advisor, blogger, vlogger, and prominent pro-Israel speaker and influencer. In June 2025, Australia's Department of Home Affairs revoked his visa just days before a planned speaking tour in Melbourne and Sydney. He was scheduled to speak at fundraising events for Israel's National Emergency Medical Service. The government cited his social media posts as containing Islamophobic rhetoric that could incite hatred or discord against Australia's Muslim community, posing a risk to, quote, the health, safety, or good order of the Australian public. Specific concerns included his comments on radicalization among Muslims and comparisons involving Gaza civilians and Nazi-era Germans. He was barred for 3 years. He is still allowed in Canada for now, but isn't it reminiscent of Tommy Robinson's ban in Canada? Isn't it reminiscent of Ezra Levant's ban of going to the UK right before the Unite the Kingdom event? The event tonight is at the Bikers Church in Ottawa. Anyone familiar with the Freedom Convoy and following freedom-related events in the area should be familiar with this place by now. They played a prominent role, and they have also been staunch allies of Israel and the Jewish community, dispelling the myth of tensions between Christians and Jewish people, which is perpetuated by terrorist narratives and the woke right. This event tonight is about allyship, and the venue perfectly exemplifies that.
And we want to welcome everybody to our Sweet Solidarity night. And in honor of what we do every single week at Bikers Church, you need to help me out here. Look at your neighbor, look him right in the eye, and say, man, I can't believe I get to sit next to you.
So I am here with Rob, who is the lead pastor of Capital City Bikers Church. Rob, I've known about this place since the Freedom Convoy days. You guys played a prominent role back then when everything was going on in Ottawa, and now you are an ally to the Jewish community and to Israel. Why was that important for you to do?
Well, it's important to us because it's important to God. When I read the scriptures are very clear about God's plan, his heart, his love for Israel, that it's not gone away and it's not a replacement theology like some people believe. And so we're looking at it through a biblical worldview, and we wanted to be an ally to our Jewish brothers and sisters and letting them know that they've got a safe place here. So we've done numerous events partnering with our Jewish brothers and sisters, being a safe place, reaching out to them, attending their events, and trying to continue to build those bridges and letting them know, hey, we hear you, we're there for you, we're praying for you, and we love and support you.
And I focused my mission on two things. First thing is to be a source of real-time accurate information. Now, that might sound simple, but real-time and accurate are mutually exclusive, generally speaking, because if it's real-time, I can't verify it. And if I'm verifying it, it's not real-time. But I'm getting feeds from the Knesset, from the Parliament, I'm getting feeds from the IDF spokesperson's office, and so when I receive a tip or a piece of news, I cross-reference to make sure that if I'm sharing it, it's accurate. And I have to say, I'm very proud of the fact that in the last 3 years, there have been maybe 3 or 4 instances where I shared something not inaccurate, but early. I was told something was confirmed, I shared it, and I was told afterwards it was not confirmed. But other than those 3 instances, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of posts have been accurate. And that is a lot harder than it sounds in this world of disinformation.
Now, you mentioned that the tech world is often widely anti-Israel. Why do you think that is?
I just think maybe it's a little bit of a generalization, but I think predominantly, I would say the tech world is very, very liberal, and in an ironic way, in the crazy backwards world in which we live, liberal equals anti-Israel when it really should be the opposite. But that's a topic for another time. But the reality is the tech world is very, very liberal, and they adopt these narratives that we all know are false and ridiculous. But the Palestinians are the underdog, and again, couldn't be farther from the truth. But that's the narrative that they're told in the media, and that's what they believe. And it's sad. But I'm, one tech guy at a time. I'm trying to change minds, and some a little more successful, and some a little bit less successful.
Algorithms probably often play into that narrative as well. From like a tech perspective, how does that work?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because yes, us people who are on one side, we see the other side, and the other side sees our side. This is how the algorithms work. They show you something that they know is going to anger you so that you get engaged and you comment and you respond and then you stick around for more, and then Facebook makes more money and Twitter makes more money, right? But the other side, they get the pro-Israel stuff. We shouldn't get confused. That's how the algorithms work. So we see the bad stuff, they see the bad, that's how it works. So, yes, we're on social media and we all feel alone and we feel like the world's lost their minds. But as I said before, the algorithms do not reflect reality, not even close. There are millions, many, many millions of people out there who can still tell the difference between good and evil and who understand that when you look at a pro-Israel march and a pro-Palestine march, one is holding flags and waving flags and one is burning flags. They still have brains in their heads and they still know how to use critical thinking and they can still differentiate between good and evil. Again, there are many people out there who can't, but there are millions who can.
Very insightful. So Australia recently revoked your visa. I think they were saying your presence could pose a risk to public health, safety, and good order. What was your reaction to that?
I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up if you wanted to. The stuff that they sent me that justify their decision, they sent me a PDF. They said, look at these tweets. These are the tweets that were Islamophobic. These are the tweets. And I looked at the tweets. There was nothing even remotely. I'll give you an example. Just give you one example. One of the tweets that they sent me was a tweet that I had written that the news had just reported there was a massacre in the humanitarian zone in Gaza. I knew from the top of the IDF that not a single bullet was fired by Israel. So I knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that did not happen. There was no massacre. And so I tweeted that. And of course, everyone called me out for it. The next day, all of the press, all of the media retracted their statement and said it didn't happen. So what's wrong with what I said? And what I said tonight also, Islamophobia. Phobia is an irrational fear of something. It's not irrational to fear a religion that has 200 million people dedicated to my death. That's not irrational, that's rational. They didn't like it, so they didn't like it, whatever.
Yeah, you kind of just led into my next question there. I was going to ask you if Islamophobia exists.
No, it doesn't exist. Why have I never heard of Jewphobia or Christian phobia? Why is it only Islamophobia? The whole thing's just a fabrication, and you hear these politicians who, when they speak about the 300, 400% increase in anti-Semitism, they can't say it without saying also Islamophobia. No, those two things are not the same because, they talk about Jewish terrorists or violent settlers. We're talking about 100 teenagers acting like idiots, Okay, they're criminals. They're not terrorists. They're not doing what they're doing in the name of Judaism. We have 300 million, or whatever the number, 200 million Muslims who aren't just committing terror. They're doing it in the name of Islam. That's why they yell Allah Akbar. They're doing it in the name of Allah. So let's not get those two things confused. So fearing a religion that has 300 million members dedicated to my death is not irrational. And so Islamophobia is a ridiculous term, and it's a term that the West uses to just push away anybody who calls out the problem that radical Islam is trying to take over the West. And again, this isn't something they hide. They say it proudly. And we're like, yeah, they don't mean it. Yeah, they do. Listen to someone when they tell you what they want to do, and stop labeling anyone who's recognizing reality an Islamophobe. It's ridiculous.
One final question for you. The name of the event tonight is Sweet Solidarity, and I mean, we've got Jews and Christians together in a church, but there are many non-Jews who want to help. They want to be allies, and they don't necessarily know how. What are some practical things that non-Jewish allies can do to help their Jewish friends and neighbors?
I think honestly, there are many things, but I think one of the things that maybe is underrated is coming to visit Israel, and taking pictures and posting it and showing what the media shows is completely disconnected from reality. And I sit with people who made Aliyah, who are visiting every day in Tel Aviv, and I ask them all the same question. How do you feel right now? 100% of them, not 99%, 100% of them say the same thing. I feel infinitely safer here than I do wherever I came from. Every single one of them. So something that people can do is come visit and take out their iPhone, take pictures and videos of what they see. Because when I speak to people and they say, oh, it's so dangerous there, really? Come visit. You won't feel that way at all. So that's one thing that I think is relatively low-hanging fruit. Of course, helping the different causes in Israel and, whether it's financially and other things, that's also very much appreciated. But a very simple thing is get on a plane and come visit, even for a couple of days.
Canada has been facing rampant anti-Semitism. I mean, it's something like 23% worth of hate crimes here. It's getting worse by the month, honestly. What can somebody do in their own backyard here to help the community?
Go knock on their neighbor's door and say, come to my house, let me teach you about a mezuzah on my door. Let me show you what these tzitzit are. Let me teach you a little bit about Judaism, because what you think Judaism is could not be farther from the truth. Let me show you about the beauty of our ideology, of our religion, our theology. Let me show you what the press won't show you. And you think it's only one person, but you don't know that one person will tell that one person, and you never know. And you could potentially impact millions of lives. So even if you don't want to use social media, maybe you're an introvert, it's not for you, fine. Pick up the phone, speak to your friend, call your mom, do something. Just do something. Even if it's something you think is small, you just don't know the ripple effect. And I'm talking to my great-grandson, and I say, listen, there was this day, October 7th, it was a holiday in Israel, and everyone was in synagogue, and 5,000 genocidal terrorists marched into a country smaller than New Jersey with one goal, to kill as many Jews as possible. And they had 8 hours of free hand and unlimited access to automatic weapons. And my great-grandson's going to say to me, that sounds terrible. How many hundreds of thousands of Israelis did they kill that day? And I'm going to say, they didn't kill hundreds of thousands of Israelis. And he's going to say, well, how many tens of thousands did they kill that day? And I'm going to say, they didn't kill tens of thousands. And he's like, how many did they kill? And I'm going to say 1,200. Now, again, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The loss and devastation of that day will never be forgotten. But he's going to say, as the cool kids say, the math ain't mathin'. How did 5,000 terrorists in 8 hours, if each one of them would have killed 5 people, remember they're spraying bullets in all directions. How did 5,000 terrorists only, it's a terrible word to use, only killed 1,200 people?
It was interesting the way he reframed October 7th, obviously a horrible tragedy, and 1,200 people died, but it could have been a lot worse. So I hadn't thought of it that way, how good Israel is at defending itself and how much people care about protecting each other. So that was an interesting thing.
Too many people are silent, and if the allies can speak up, then it'll give courage to the Jewish people to also stand up, because I do know they're afraid to stand up.
I'm a Jewish woman, and what Hillel said has been my reality for the last few years, since October 7th. It was very encouraging to have all these people that aren't Jewish, that either they came here sort of understanding or understand more what's actually going on. So that's always so encouraging, basically.
What is something that non-Jewish allies can do to help the Jewish community more in Canada with the rampant anti-Semitism rising?
Speak out. So ever since October 7th, I've been posting on Facebook about what was going on, during all the hostage situations and just all the things. So I post regularly because that's something I can do. and people would like or heart or whatever emoji carrying, on my posts. And every now and then, a few times, I'd say, "I'm grateful for all of you who like, who are affirming of what I'm posting. But like, can you post? Can you share?" It is a risk. 5 years ago, when Hezbollah was shooting rockets at Israel and Israel started retaliating, a friend of mine, a non-Jewish friend, posted something supportive of Israel. And she said to me, "Robin, I've got the most hateful comment by a complete stranger." And I said, "Welcome to our world, and thank you for taking one for us."
Be a good neighbor. Be a friend. Reach out to your Jewish friends. When things go sideways, reach out to them. Reach out to the synagogue. Send a note. Do something. Don't just sit there and say they can absorb it. I know for a fact, because I have Jewish friends and I talk to them often. And when things are bad, we ask them how they're doing and walk with it and even check in on them, even when it's not going bad. Do that. Be proactive in the moment every way. Love your neighbor as yourself.
If you stand with the Jewish community against the rampant anti-Semitism that is plaguing them in Canada and all across the West since October 7th, please head to deporthamas.com. If people come here spewing terrorist rhetoric, supporting listed terrorist organizations, they deserve to go home and not be in our country anymore. That is deporthamas.com.